Good afternoon, everyone. If you're just joining us, welcome to the June Keys Penguin Habitat. My name is Sarah, and it is my lucky job to work with these guys 5 days a week, so I know our Magellanic penguin colony quite well. You're looking at the middle of breeding season, so these guys are building nests and defending their territories. So if you take a look at the 9 holes that you see along the back wall here, those are all burrows or nests for our birds. Almost all of our birds are paired up. The birds that you see kind of around us, minus Lily here, they all do not have mates. They're all younger. So usually when they're about age 3 to 4, that's when they become sexually mature and they're interested in pairing up. They are monogamous, so they do mate for life, and usually males do most of the nest building, but right now we have Miss Lily taking care of the nest while Matson is inside. Males typically arrive about 3 weeks prior to females, and they start to build the nests. So if you look at the wall where the penguin statues are, that is a real Magellanic penguin breeding site. So Magellanic penguins do not need ice or snow. They're more of what we call a temperate species of penguin. So they find a nice area, and they'll either dig a nest, or they'll get lucky and they'll find maybe a nest underneath a plant. And then they'll get nesting material, and if they are lucky enough, a female penguin will see that nest, realize they did a really good job, and go ahead and lay 2 eggs about 3 to 5 days apart. They take about 38 to 42 days to hatch. And we have had 13 Magellanic penguins hatch here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. 3 of them have subadult or juvenile plumage. So 13 of our penguins hatched here at the aquarium. This lovely lady right here, her name is Dee. She is 11 months old. She hatched this past May. So this time last year, she was just an egg. But she has subadult or juvenile plumage, meaning she doesn't look like the adults quite yet, like handsome Avery right here. He is a very good example of an adult Magellanic penguin. He has 2 black bands. That makes him a member of the banded penguin family and also a Magellanic penguin because he has 2 bands, not just one like the African, Humboldt, and Galapagos, the other members of that family. If you're wondering what the nesting material is, it's sanitized palm fronds. So there are palm fronds that grow right outside the aquarium, and they trim them every January. We let them dry, and then we sanitize them behind the scenes, and we give them to the birds to collect. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Aquarium of the Pacific's June Keys Penguin Habitat. My name is Sarah, and I am the main penguin keeper for these amazing animals. They are a lot of fun to work with, but they are a lot of work. So this is kind of the fun part of the job, talking about these penguins with you. The bird that's hanging out right in my lap here, his name is Gats. He is only a year old. He will be 2 years old, so he's still trying to figure out what life is like to be a penguin. Again, our pairs are monogamous. They do mate for life. So Roxy and Floyd, one of our pairs, have actually had 7 out of the 13 chicks. They had 2 last year, Wally and Dee. This is the 7th breeding season that we've had here at the aquarium with our Magellanic penguins. Magellanic penguins only breed one time out of the year, so we're kind of right in the middle of that breeding season right now. You can see some of our birds are gathering nesting material. And the younger birds, the ones that you see out here right now, they're kind of learning what that means, what it means to collect nesting material and what it means to have your own burrow. So everybody kind of learns from the adults, which is pretty cool to watch. One of my favorite things is to watch these guys grow and become adult penguins. So we have 3 subadult or juvenile penguins right now. Wally, Dee, and Cleo. And they hatched this past May. And they look a little bit different than everybody else because they have their subadult or juvenile plumage. Magellanic penguins also bray to communicate. So you might have gotten a chance to hear that before we were out here. We feed them 2 to 3 times a day. They're going to get fed at about 4 o'clock today. And at 3:15, we're going to have a seal and sea lion show. If you want to see that, that's right behind you guys. Breeding season brings out some interesting characteristics and personality traits in some of our penguins. So Lily is the bird that's needs a bath, we'll just say. She's been busy building a nest. And Astaire, that is not his area. Lily's trying to tell him that is not his area. Not really working out so well. She's kind of ignoring him. But our birds can get quite territorial of their nests. And they do spend a lot of time protecting them and defending them. So her mate Matson is inside. He would rather kind of hang out in that nest rather than try to chase Astaire away. So that's Lily's job right now. So sometimes when these guys want to defend their territory, they will bill duel. So a little bit of bill dueling is going on over with Paddles, Avery, and Fisher. People always ask if I can tell these guys apart, and I definitely can. That was Gat saying hello. I can tell these guys apart. Everybody acts a little bit different. So everyone has different colorations or patterns on them. That's not really how I tell them apart. I tell them apart by the way they act. So when they come up to the bucket to eat, they all act a little bit of a different way. And the more time you spend with them, the easier it is to tell them apart. And if you're just joining us, these are Magellanic penguins, and they're in the banded penguin family, along with the African, Galapagos, and Humboldt penguin. So they're a temperate species that doesn't need ice or snow to survive. In fact, they're going to live in Chile and Argentina, so their weather is kind of similar to Southern California. Just think a little bit more wind and the water's a little colder. And Magellanic penguins only breed once a year, so it is the middle of their breeding season right now. You're going to see a lot of the birds on land building nests, hanging out in their burrows. Those are the holes that you see behind me. And some of our birds are going through kind of a transitional period where they're learning how to be penguins. So our 3 youngsters that you see, they have subadult or juvenile plumage. They look a little bit different than everybody else. Like Gat's here, he has his adult plumage or feathers, but Wally, D, and Cleo, they're all still subadult or juvenile. Magellanic penguins, and all penguins actually, go through something that's really gnarly. It's called a catastrophic molt. They actually have to replace all of their feathers once a year. So penguin feathers are pretty special. They allow them to stay dry in the water, and they have about 70 per square inch. And when you're a Magellanic penguin, you can migrate about 1,000 to 3,000 miles a year. So your feathers become worn as you're on your journey, and Magellanic, or all penguins, have learned that they can replace their feathers once a year, and that way their feathers are going to keep that watertight seal. So about 2 to 3 months prior to this, they bulk up and they come to land, and they stay on land for about a month, and they replace all their feathers. That's about early fall for us. We still have to go through our breeding season, but that's when Wally, Cleo, and Dee will make that transformation into adult plumage. They'll still have to kind of learn a little bit about being a penguin and building a nest, and they'll learn that from the adults in the habitat. They are a prey species, and they do like to stay together in a colony. So you always see these guys together. If they're a pair, they do something really cool. They allo or mutual preen each other. Sometimes if you're just friends, you can do that too. So they take care of each other's feathers, especially in areas that they can't reach. And that's something that kind of helps them bond. And since they are monogamous, they do mate for life. They do stay together year-round here in our habitat. And Roxy and Floyd have actually had 7 out of the 13 chicks. 4 of our birds were actually rescued from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It's a little bit far north from where they're typically found. They're usually found in Chile and Argentina. So by being Brazil, when they were found, they were stranded, very, very hungry, and deemed unreleasable, meaning they couldn't go back to their natural habitat. So the Aquarium of the Pacific was able to give them a permanent home. We got some of our other birds from different facilities and institutions. And 13 of them did hatch here at the aquarium, like Gats, the bird that just climbed out of my lap. And if you're interested, at 3:15, we are going to have our last seal and sea lion show of the day. That's right down the stairs, and that's when I'll get off the microphone. But for now, I'm going to hang out, talk to you guys about our Magellanic penguins. So being in the banded penguin family, they bray to communicate. They were doing that a little bit before we got out here. They bray to a mutual bray when they find each other. If they're mates, they bray to find each other in general. And it's just general, it's a communication for these guys. So they kind of sound like donkeys a little bit. And if you want to get a chance to see our penguins eat, they're going to get fed at about 4 o'clock. They get fed 2 to 3 times a day, depending on what they need. They get restaurant quality sustainable herring and capelin. And the more time you spend with these guys, the more you love them. I can tell you these are my favorite animals here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. I got a chance to raise all 13 of the ones that hatched here, and they're all very, very special. Right now, my lap is kind of a cool place to be, but that might not be the case in just a few minutes. When it is breeding season, these guys can be kind of hormonal, a little bit aggressive to each other, so we try to keep the peace. And they get along pretty well, but when you're defending territory and someone tries to take your burrow, of course you're going to try to defend that territory and not let the other one go in there. So all of our pairs have burrows, but all these youngsters don't quite yet. Are you going to burrow? Are you going to burrow? Where my elbow? Magellanic penguins are near threatened. There's about 1.1 million breeding pairs out there. Some of the issues that these guys have are finding food. So we think that the 4 birds that were stranded were looking for food, got lost along the way, and then ended up a little bit further north than where they're typically found. They do follow the currents where the fish are, and they fish pretty close to shore. Now, that being said, they can migrate 1,000 to 3,000 miles a year, so they spend a lot of time on the South American coast foraging for food. They eat small schooling fish, krill, every now and then maybe a squid or an octopus. Here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, herring is their favorite, but there are a few birds that only eat capelin, so we offer them 2 types of fish. Wally was trying to bray for you guys. Some birds eat both, some only eat one. We let these guys choose how many fish they want to eat and which one. And they do swallow their food whole. The bird in my lap right now, her name is Dee. She's named after Dr. Dee Boersma, who studies these birds in their natural habitat, and she got the largest breeding colony of Magellanic penguins protected. If you're just joining us, welcome to the June Keys Penguin Habitat. This is the home for 23 Magellanic penguins, and it is the middle of their breeding season right now. Magellanic penguins only breed 1 time out of the year, so we only have this breeding season in the months of March through about May to June. This is the 7th breeding season for these birds, so they definitely know what they're doing, although some of the youngsters are still kind of learning. They learn from the adults. In their natural habitat, males arrive about 3 weeks prior to females, and they do all that nest building. But here at the aquarium, we notice that the males just quite aren't building the nest to the females' standard, so we're noticing some of our ladies are building nests as well. We do offer them sanitized palm fronds, so it's palm fronds that we've made sure are nice and clean before we give them to our birds. We found that that's their favorite source of nesting material. We've tried different things, and they want their palm fronds.